Good morning, everyone. Welcome, class ninth. This is our second class, and we are going to explore the second content of your Beehive book. After the first chapter, The Fun They Had, we have The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Undoubtedly, a very famous poem of English literature. But before I move on to the poem, I would like to introduce the poet to you briefly. The poet Robert Frost is an American poet. He was Irony of the situation is that he was published in England before he was published and recognized as a poet in his own nation, that's America. He was born in 1874 and he expired in 1963. He is famous for giving words to his own realistic experiences of life. He spent his childhood days in villages, in the real countryside situations, and from there he has taken simplistic themes to reach to his readers. Now, The Road Not Taken is one of his most famous poems, and this poem as well is based on a very simple theme, or you can say a theme that is very much a part of life for each individual. The basic theme of the poem is choices that we come across in our life. Unfailingly, each one of us have to come across some choices in life. We cannot go with both the options we have. We have to choose any one out of the available options. And that situation, when we come across, we have to use our own prudence, wisdom, and experiences gained till date to move ahead in life. That is what Robert Frost talks about in his poem, The Road Not Taken. Now, if I talk about the plot of the poem, in the plot of the poem, the poet reaches, that's a metaphorical poem, so he actually reaches a road as per the lyrics or as per the words of the poem. He reaches a point on the road, a place on the road where the road forks into two. Foxes, it divides into two. When he reaches that point, he is pondering thoughtfully which one to leave and which one to follow. Now, these roads are metaphor for the choices in our lives. So, at one point of time in our life, we reach a situation where we have to choose the course of our life. Which way to go? Either it is this way or is it that way? Now, the misconception of this poem that has been prevailing in the society since the poem was written is that Robert Frost presents one road as the road less traveled by. That's true, but not completely. That's not the entire truth. Yes, he cites by the view that the poet Robert Frost chooses the path that was less traveled by, but that does not mean he is denying the significance of the second road. In his poem, there are lines and there are words that also prove the importance of the second road alike. So, this huge misconception is the first thing I would like to break for my students, that it's not that he is denying the significance or he's lowering the importance of any one of the given choices. He is giving it the personal hard work or the personal strength, the value of choosing and then flowering into what you become someday. It's not the path alone that will decide what you're going to be. So for him, he has chosen the less traveled by, but he never says that the path which is traveled by many can't lead you to success. Talking about the form of the poem, before I go on to the line by line reading of the poem. In this poem, we have four stanzas of 5 lines each. The rhyme scheme of the poem is AB, AAB. That's enough for class 9 as form. Now, this is the poem, The Road Not Taken, in your book, page number. It's 15 page number. The well-known poem is about making choices. As I've already told you, it's about making choices in life. And the choices that shape us. And it's not the choice of eating pizza or burger. Right, yeah, seems funny, but that's what I want to direct to you. It's not about simple choices that we make every day, every moment in our life. It's about the important choices that shape our life or shape us. Robert Frost is an American poet who writes simply but insightfully. You'll find his words very simple, but yes, there is a huge insight in those words. And he writes about common and ordinary experiences of life, which I've already told you in his introduction. Line by line, going to the poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could. Two, where it bent in the undergrowth. This is the first stanza. Now, what does he explain or what does he address in the first stanza? He says two roads diverged in a yellow wood, that he was on a point in his life, or he was at a place, metaphorically, in his life where there were two paths that were diverging or that were stretching in the yellow wood, in the forest. And sorry, I could not travel both. Naturally, one person standing at the fork of the road cannot go on both the paths. So he said, I'm sorry, but I could not travel both. I could not take both the paths that moment. And be one traveler, long I stood. And because he was one traveler, he could not travel both the paths together. So long I stood. So see, long I stood means he is taking time, he is pondering, he is utilizing all his strength of wisdom and prudence to choose what to take up or which one to go with. So long I stood and looked down as far as I could. Now, literally, he means that he looked down on those roads as far as he could. If we stand on a path and there are 2-3 roads going by, we can see only up to a certain limit on that road, right? We cannot see throughout to the destination of that road. So literally he means I bent and I looked to where that road was leading, and similarly for the other one. And he's saying I looked up on those roads up to the point where those roads bent in the undergrowth. So when a bend comes or when a curve or turn comes, you cannot see further. So to the point where it was visible, it was clear before it turned, he saw both the paths. This is the literal meaning. Now, metaphorical meaning is when he was on that stage in his life, he looked and examined both the options that were available to him there, the choices that were available to him there, and looked as far as I could must have meant, or naturally it means, that he is examining the pros and cons of taking up a particular choice. That if I take this one, then what? If I take this one, then what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, what it is going to lead me to, and what is that what I want to really achieve. So he examined both the available options that he had at that particular point of time in his life. Moving on to the second stanza, then took the other. So at the end of the first stanza, he examined both the roads to where it bent in the undergrowth, up to the point where he could see, he could experience, he could examine, he saw. In the second paragraph, beginning line, he says, then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. Now, this is the stanza I was talking to you about, the misconception that lies with the poem. I am explaining it to you line by line. The first line says, then took the other just as fair. So he saw both, then he examined one to where it bent in the undergrowth, but he did not take that one. Because naturally, his choice, he has those available options. He has to think of the pros and cons, the positives and negatives. He took the other one, which was just as fair. So he says both were equal. What I could see from that point in my life, I found both equal. So he says that was just as fair, so I took the other one. And then he's saying, probably to himself, justifying his choice, he's saying, and having perhaps the better claim. So in the first line he says, probably that was just as fair, but in the second line he again says, Perhaps that had even the better claim. Means I had something that was better. I had found something that was better on that path. What is that better? He says because it was grassy and wanted wear. Because it was grassy and wanted wear means it was less chosen by. People chose that path less. Where do you find grass on the path? More grass is on the path where people do not walk. Because when we walk, then the grass and the shrubs and herbs, they are uprooted and that path becomes plain. So one path out of the two has the grass as it is. It is grassy and it wanted where? Wanted where means it also wanted that a path is built among its shrubs. So he says perhaps that was the better claim of that road and I chose that. Though as that the passing there. So he says as far as the passing is concerned of both the roads, had won the passing of the people had won them really about the same. So if I say passing of the people, then again he is confused among him in himself, and he says both paths were equally trodden by or equally used by people. So see, this is very confusing, not for the readers but for the poet himself. He's not very sure which one to choose. But as per his personal choice and his wisdom, he chooses one. But we have to notice that in this stanza, he never mentions one path being superior to the other path. That's what the main focus point of this stanza is. Coming on to the third stanza, and both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. See, this point of choices is not easy. It was neither easy for the poet nor it is going to be for any of us. When we choose, we always have the doubt, what about the other choice? What about the other available option? So it wasn't easy for the poet. That contradiction, that confusion is vivid in his lines. In the third stanza, he says, both that morning equally lay. That both the paths that morning, when it was my point in life to choose, both were equally there. In leaves, no step had trodden black. And on both the paths, there were equal chances of success. So it was not the path that I am choosing or this is going to help me, that this path is taken by so many people and all have succeeded. And this particular path has been taken by so many people and all have failed. There was nothing like that. It was both giving equal evidences of being chosen. Oh, I kept the first for another day. And then he says, since I had taken the second one, I had chosen the second one, I kept that the first one I will take on some other day. But he also knows within his heart and his brain works. He says, yet knowing how way leads on to way, that though I am calming myself down, I am giving myself this assurance that this first path I will take some other day, but still I know that it's not easy. I know the way leads on to way. What does he mean by this? The way leads on to way. See, literally, if you go on one path, you will have to turn right. Then that will again have a fork. You will have to again take another side. Again, there will be forks. You will have to take any one of those. So there is no point of returning back to that original point and then taking the first one. That's the literal meaning. Now, metaphorically, whenever we are at this stage in life, when we have to choose among the given options, if you take up one side, the easiest example I will take, when you go to 11th class, you have to choose streams. If you're taking arts, you are going towards that, you are taking up those subjects, you're studying those subjects, you are interested, you will have another options of job, of occupation among those subjects. You'll not have a choice to come back again in 11th and then study medical. And if similarly, if you're taking up medical or non-medical, you are planning to take a course of life for yourself. You will be going, you will be taking up that stream, then you will have the available options of those choices, and then again you will not have the liberty in life to come back to 11th class and to take the first path. Now, This is what going to be deciding factor for your life. So that is what he says. I knew that way leads on to way, and I also doubted at that very moment if I should ever come back. Means, will there be any option in life, or will there be a choice that I will ever come back on the same point? I'll get the same chance back in life to choose again. He knows no, he won't get it. But still, that is the assurance that he gives to him in this third stanza. Moving on to the fourth and last stanza of the poem. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by. And that has made all the difference. The beauty of this paragraph, of this stanza. He says, I shall be telling this with a sigh, that some years in future, ages and ages hence, means many years ahead of now, of today, I'll be telling this with a remembrance, with a fond memory, that once I had those two choices, two roads once diverged in a wood, and I took the one that was less traveled by, where there were less people going. He says that there was a path where there were less people going, but he never says that was the path that assured success or failure, right? That is the point that we have to keep in mind. He says, I took the one less traveled by. I will be thinking someday, pondering upon this decision in future. And also that day he would be thinking, and that has made all the difference. Now, at this point of time, he did not know what is that difference going to be. Is that difference going to be a very positive difference? Is he going to be a very successful poet, or is he going to be a very successful man by taking that other path? Or is he going to regret his decision of not taking the first path? But surely it will make a difference, some difference in life. But now, presently, we know, at least of Robert Frost, that the difference was definitely positive. All the fame and the knowledge and the respect that the world gives to the great poet Robert Frost is because of that other choice he had taken, and because of the less traveled path that he dared to take. Now, it's not easy to go on a path which is less traveled by. We take up choices which are easy for us, which are very fluent, which we have seen people taking up, which we have seen that somehow we will manage. If not a great tycoon, we will not even be a worst failure. So it is going to be fine enough. Those choices are easy. But difficult is where people have not gone. You have to explore it for yourself. That's going to make the difference. That's what was done by Robert Frost, and the difference we can see in the world for him. Now, this was the poem by Robert Frost. I would be sending you the notes, and the exercises again we'll be discussing on a group there on WhatsApp. Till then, I would like you to understand and go through this video and the notes that are provided to you to thoroughly understand this poem. A very beautiful piece of literature it is. I would like you to explore and enjoy the same. Thank you.